Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report Week 10. We are all over it here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. I am Drew Martin, and like always, joined by Teddy Covers. Teddy, happy Monday morning to you. Welcome on into the show.
Well, happy Monday, Drew. How you doing today, my friend? I had a freaking annoying NFL weekend, particularly annoying NFL weekend. A couple of wrong sides, and then the Saints, who didn't get there yesterday at -7, despite a fourth quarter that was played entirely in Chicago territory. And unfortunately, the clients aren't happy. I don't blame them. It hasn't been a great run for me in the NFL. That said, I feel good about this week's card. I feel good about the report today. So let's see what we can do. Breaking down the line moves before they happen. Talk about all 14 NFL games on tap for week number 10.
Absolutely, Teddy. Can't wait. And long-term, guys, he's all over it. So bounce back mode here. And Teddy, to answer your question, my 9-0 NFL streak went down in flames last week. So I'm in bounce back mode again. And excited to get after these line moves with you. We got Thursday starting off here before the Sunday card, guys. November 9th. It's Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears. Teddy, we're seeing it -3 in the hook here. That's the Bears is the home favorite. Total of 40. And Teddy, I got it 7-21 primetime unders so far this season. That's 21 unders, only 7 overs. I'll throw it over to you, man. What do you think inside and total in this Panthers and Bears Thursday night matchup?
Let's start with this. And again, we don't do this a lot, but when it stands out, we like to give what we call an emergency betting alert on Monday mornings, where we think the line is going to move in one particular direction. It's already showing signs of that. This is the only game, at least so far, that I have a legit emergency betting alert. Let's see what the numbers do as we are talking. But right now, Dan, let's get the emergency betting alert up for this one. If you want to play the under on Thursday Night Football, I would bet that right now. There are still 40s out there. There are still 40.5s out there. The numbers going down. The leading indicator books, several of them are already at 39.5. And we are seeing under money from the get-go for the Panthers and Bears. And if this is your first time watching the NFL Opening Line Report, let me tell you what we do for every game. I'm going to give you 4 sets of numbers for every game. The first set is the look-ahead lines from last week. These are bettable numbers from before yesterday's games were played, so you have an idea of how much the markets have reacted to a single week. I use the numbers from the Westgate. I call them the Westgate look-aheads. Then I'm going to give you my power rating number. My power rating number doesn't factor in any situation at all. It's just team A, team B, a point and a half for home field. My power rating number. Then we're going to give you the openers from last night, where the markets opened, and where they are today on Monday here in Las Vegas. It's still Monday morning. So my power rating number has the Bears 2.5. The look-ahead line, Chicago 1.5, 41.5. The markets opened 3 and 40.5 last night. And now we're looking at 3.5s and 40 here on Monday morning. And I am anticipating that we will see at least a little bit more under money than what we've already seen. Panthers defense didn't allow a 20-yard play all game yesterday against Indy. And they still lost by 2 touchdowns, which had a lot to do with the offense. But, a defense allowed 4.4 yards per pass, 2.6 yards per run. But they had 10 penalties, 2 pick sixes, and 3 interceptions from Bryce Young against a defense that allowed 37+ in each of the last 3 games. Offense coordinator Thomas Brown, you got the game ball last week. Well, in 2 games with Brown calling plays, Carolina has 2 offensive touchdowns, and Young's been sacked 26 times in 7 starts. He was rattled yesterday. His accuracy was bad. He was hurrying his throws, and it wasn't pretty. In addition, Carolina suffered some significant injuries. Linebacker Brian Burns, stud. Quarterback C.J. Henderson. Safeties Xavier Woods, all left with injuries, didn't return. Frank Wright said it's hard to imagine Burns or Woods would be ready to play on a short week. So they may be shorthanded defensively this time around. Wright talking about Bryce Young, quote, "I've seen this happen to the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. They all have games like this. Sure, it's going to be easy to put on the quarterback, but you bounce back. That's what makes the great ones. With developing into the franchise QB, it's a long road." Now, there's a chance we could see Justin Fields this week. The Bears say there's a possibility he could play. He began throwing at practice 19 days after dislocating his right thumb. That being said, with the short turnaround, you have to assume Tyson Bagent is going to start again. And look, Chicago, there were some good things yesterday. The defense played very well. They got 156 rushing yards. That's the second most the Saints have given up all season. Offensively, this team's still going to be a work in progress. And that said, they were -5 in turnovers and covered a point spread in yesterday's ballgame. That doesn't happen a whole lot. And the markets are saying bye because of that performance.
Great start here with the Thursday Nighter from Teddy Covers. Guys, we got November 12th, Sunday, and it's a full slate of games here, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Pacific. We're on the other side of the pond in Deutsche Bank Park, Frankfurt, Germany. Again here, Teddy, with the Indianapolis Colts and New England Patriots set to kick off. -2 is what we're seeing the Colts at most sports books as the quote-unquote road favorite. 43 in the hook as the total. So we'll start off our Sunday in Germany. What are we thinking with the Colts and the Pats?
Yeah, we'll call them neutral site favorites because it's not a road game for either team. My powering number is Indy -3.5. The look ahead was New England -1, 44.5. Opened last night, Colts -1.5, 43.5. And we're seeing this morning Colts -2s, still sitting at 43.5. And look, Indy didn't do a whole lot offensively yesterday. Gardner Minshew had 27 dropbacks, equated to 120 passing yards. The offense didn't have a 20-yard play all game. They had 4.4 yards per pass and 2.6 yards per run. Those aren't bet-on numbers. And the defense had allowed 37 points each of the last 3 games. Obviously, they allowed 13 yesterday, and the defense scored 14 with the 2 pick sixes. It is worth noting that Indy has 3 straight-up wins in 4 games away from home this season. They've played better in hostile environments. As for New England, the defense for a large portion of the game was there again yesterday. It really was. Washington converted on a bunch of 3rd and longs, again and again, low probability throws that Sam Howell was able to connect on. But the Patriots won the turnover battle, lost straight up as a favorite. They're 2-7 for the first time since Bill Belichick's first season as the head coach in 2000. They're 0-5 in non-division games, the only team in the NFL without a win outside their division. They basically, whatever limited playmakers they had, Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, both guys sat this last week. Bourne's out for the year. They don't have playmakers, and the offense is really, really struggling. Mac Jones, the results aren't there right now. It stinks, and there's no excuses. And look, New England was the beneficiary of one of the worst roughing the passer calls ever yesterday to negate a sack fumble against Jones, and it didn't even matter. They still couldn't get the win. Patriots, hard team for the markets to support, and yet their defensive numbers continue to be solid. That's why this line is not going to 3. New England's defense, even at 2-7, has still been a positive unit. The offense is the problem. They can't get out of their own way.
Moving down in rotation order using the WagerTalk live odds screen, we got 243, 244 up next, guys. 1 o'clock Eastern kick with the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Teddy, we're seeing this 38.5, actually anywhere from 39 to 38 flat. So I guess a little opinion in the marketplace on the total. -6 across the board. There is a key global book, -6 in the hook. That's the Ravens as the home favorite here, Teddy.
Yeah, the power rating number, Baltimore -5. Look ahead number, Baltimore -5.5, 40.5. Opened last night, there were 5.5s and 6, down to 39. And this morning, we're seeing mostly 6s. As you mentioned, there's a prominent 6.5 out there, total down to 38.5. So we're seeing Ravens money, and we're seeing under money. And look, Cleveland just got their first shutout since 2007. 7 sacks in that ball game. Arizona ran a grand total of 5 plays on Cleveland's side of the field. They never got deeper than the 44 in that contest. It was truly a dominant defensive showing. Of course, it came against a non-NFL quarterback and a barely NFL offense. Myles Garrett, it feels great. Haven't had a shutout in a while. It was a perfect back game. We haven't been playing up to the standard that we set on defense, and we played with our hair on fire. Worth noting, Cleveland's starting left tackle, Jedrick Willis, left on crutches with his right leg immobilized. So we'll have to see his status. That would be a big loss if he was out. So the Ravens beat me yesterday, and they beat me pretty soundly. I thought Seattle was live in that game. Seattle was not live in that game. Baltimore, truly impressive. First downs, 29-6. Yards per play, 6.9 to 3.2. They had 298 rushing yards at 7.3 yards per carry against the Seahawks defense. Keaton Mitchell, he's an undrafted rookie from East Carolina who had 0 NFL carries before Sunday. He ran for 138 yards in yesterday's game. And of course, defensively, the Ravens have held their opponents to 9 points or lower, 9 points or less 4 times this season. They lead the NFL in fewest points allowed, less than 2 touchdowns per game, and a whole host of other categories. They were really impressive. Both sides of the ball yesterday. Baltimore looked like a Super Bowl team, and the market's certainly giving them respect here against a Browns team that's got a pretty good defense and an okay track record against this Ravens squad. Right now, all the money for the home favorite, Baltimore, is a team the wise guys loaded up on yesterday, and they were right. They may well do it again this week.
Sure, and the Ravens sitting at the top of the NFC North division at 7-2. Actually, guys, in fact, the whole NFC North above 500. Another one we'll hit next here, the Cincinnati Bengals off of the big win Sunday night here, Teddy. Hosting the Houston Texans. It's -7 across the board. That's 7 flat. Bengals as the favorite. 47 in the hook as the total. Texans at Bengals. Next game up here, Teddy.
And we all misspeak. I misspeak all the time. Drew, you mean the AFC North?
Oh, did I?
The NFC
okay,
North.
My bad.
Yeah, not the same division. Yeah, you didn't mean it. It was one of those things that happens. Power rating number here, Bengals -6.5. The look ahead line, Bengals -7.5 and 44. Opened last night, 7.5, 8, 46.5. And the wise guys took a definitive opinion on this ball game. All the 8s got wiped out. All the 7.5s got wiped out. It's 7 right now. Total has been bet up fairly significantly as well. Again, opened as low as 44 on the look ahead. Last night, we saw 44.5s. Now we're seeing 47.5s and 48. So this is a game the markets have absolutely gotten involved with early on Monday morning. All Houston money, all over money. And after what C.J. Stroud did yesterday, I can't argue. I mean, he was brilliant in that ballgame. 5 touchdowns, no picks, 470 passing yards, multiple rally from behind in the fourth quarter. Dalton Schultz, Noah Brown, Tank Dell, all with 100-plus receiving yards. They gained 8 yards per play yesterday in a game where their running back, Damian Pierce, sat out. Of course, they only had 53 yards rushing. It was a one-dimensional attack. DeMeco Ryans, quote, it was a gutsy performance from Stroud. It wasn't all clean, but he gifted it out. He gutted it out. He was tough in the pockets, made some big-time throw for us. Baker Mayfield's quote, C.J. Stroud doesn't look like a rookie to me. He's so impressive. Looks like a polished NFL quarterback, so hats off to him. He played extremely, extremely well today. Houston may have kicker problems here. Their kicker got hurt yesterday. But, you know, for as good as Houston was, their defense wasn't very good. And Cincinnati was great again. You know, Burrow was brilliant. No picks, 1 sack. T. Higgins, we went out and proved the world we're back and we're here. Burrow with a season high, 348 yards. Quote, we're coming along. We played well the last couple of weeks. We have to keep it going. I like his look forward in this ballgame, but that was a huge win last week. And Burrow seemed concerned about it after the game. We were 1-0 this week. We have to be 1-0 next week, too. This is only game number 8. We've got 9 games left. That's a quote you want to hear from your QB off a big win, a meaningful big win in a game that may not matter as much to them, but this game certainly feels like a Cincinnati survive and advance type of contest. We've already seen the markets make a big statement here towards the dog and over. That may well continue throughout the week.
Like it, Teddy. Great breakdown. Yeah, Cincinnati covering 4 straight. Joe Burrow getting healthier. Next game up, we got 2-4-7, 2-4-8, 1 o'clock Eastern here. 2 teams off of bye weeks, Teddy. San Francisco, the 49ers, -3 at Jacksonville, the Jaguars. So we are seeing the 49ers -3, some shops with juice on that 3. 44.5 or 45 being the total. Niners at Jags in North Florida here, Teddy.
My powering number is San Fran 1.5. The look ahead line 2.5 and 44. Last night, it was a split market. There were 2.5s and 3s out there for San Francisco, total 44.5. And this morning, we're seeing 3 and 45. So we've seen some over money in this ballgame, and we've seen some San Francisco money in this ballgame. And certainly when you talk about two teams coming out of the bye in different ways, Jaguars into the bye on a 5-game winning streak. They beat some pretty good teams. The Falcons, the Bills, the Colts, the Saints, the Steelers. I don't know how many great teams they beat during that span, but it wasn't all bottom feeders for Jacksonville. But they go into the bye fat and happy. San Fran goes into the bye after their 5-0 start. They lost 3 in a row. So there's a sense of urgency there, and the market's certainly reacting to that with the 49ers money as opposed to money for the Jaguars. San Fran's injury report still has a lot of question marks. We don't know if Trent Williams is going to play this week, the starting tackle, and obviously that offense has been very different night and day with him on the field versus not on the field. We don't know if Chase Young is going to play, and obviously Deebo Samuel out long term. San Fran has been better. Purdy's 1 interception at home in his career, and they're 8-0 in those games. Prior to last time out, when he threw a couple of picks, he hasn't been as good on the highway necessarily. And Jacksonville, look, they've been an undervalued commodity all year long. Started off slow. Played good football the last couple of weeks. Let's see what this injury report says. See if we can get with the Jaguars this weekend. In my mind, the Trent Williams injury matters a lot for San Fran. We'll pay attention to that throughout the course of the week.
Teddy, next game up, we got 249-250 New Orleans Saints, Minnesota Vikings, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick here, -2 in the hook across the board. That is the Saints as the short road favorite, 41 being the total. Saints at Vikings. Next game up, Teddy.
My powering number is the Saints -1.5. The look-ahead line was Saints -2.5, total of 40. Markets open last night, 2.5, 40.5. And we're seeing 2.5s and 41 this morning. So that tells us two things. One, doesn't look like it's going to 3. The markets were going to move to 3. We'd see signs of that. Haven't seen any signs of that so far. 2, we've seen over money for New Orleans and Minnesota. And some of that may well have to do with the state of the Saints defense. That was dynamite earlier in the season. The Saints defense wasn't dynamite yesterday. They got a lot of interceptions. They turned the ball over, taking advantage of some poor throws from Chicago's QB. But we've seen in recent games, New Orleans defense. Now, look, they gave 156 net rushing yards against the Bears after giving up 164 to the Colts. They couldn't contain Bagent, who scrambled at will. This defense has declined, and the markets are reacting to that with this over money. The defense has forced a turnover in every game this season, and they needed them against the Bears. The run defense wasn't good. The offense struggled. Dennis Allen, after the game, head coach, quote, "There wasn't a lot of good that I saw defensively, but the takeaways were outstanding, and that's the difference in the game." I did talk last week on the show about how the Saints had put it together offensively. It was the first time. Maybe that was a buy sign, and it was back to the usual for Derek Carr and company yesterday. They were not efficient with the football, and the offense didn't really run the ball well against a Bears D that isn't that good. What Minnesota did yesterday, it's one of those things that happens every once in a while. But you don't have a quarterback get traded, come into the locker room on Wednesday, not take a snap, and then come on the field and make play after play. They had 4 second-half scoring drives. They needed every one of them. I'll give Josh Dobbs credit. Some of that might have to do with Atlanta's defensive game plan. I'll put it that way. And the Vikings avoided mistakes. Only 1 penalty, 4 yards in that contest. Obviously, Cousins is out. Seems like we got to play. And then Jared Hall comes in and he gets hurt early on. And then basically Dobbs came in and didn't matter. Now, they still aren't going to have Cousins. They're not going to have Justin Jefferson. They lost receiver KJ Osborne to concussion. They lost running back Cam Akers during the game yesterday. And every quote afterwards was, "I can't believe what we did." Head coach O'Connell, "I don't know if I've been a part of one like that." He said all players received the game ball as the ultimate team win. What Dobbs was able to do in 5 days' time was impressive. I've seen a quarterback be able to do. And again, they couldn't run the football. The running backs, Madison and Akers, 69 yards on 23 carries. It was all Josh Dobbs making plays. And Atlanta had no film on them. And it was one of those things that happens in the NFL, happening 2 weeks in a row. might not be so easy. I wouldn't be shocked if New Orleans money comes in and bets this line up to 3.
Yeah, some quarterbacks, the younger quarterbacks in particular, looking a little different in that next game after the film is out for sure, Teddy. Great breakdown. We got 1 o'clock Eastern kicks this upcoming Sunday. Do note there are 4 bye weeks here, guys. Both the Dolphins and the Chiefs coming back from Europe on a bye. The Rams and the Eagles also getting bye weeks. So the last 1 o'clock kick here before we get to the afternoon ones. 253, 254, Tennessee Titans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Competitively priced game here, Teddy. We are seeing Bucks -1 point favorites across the board. 38.5 or 39 being the total. Titans at Buccaneers from Raymond James.
All right, we'll do this one, then we'll go back and do Packers Steelers.
Oh, my bad. You want to do it now? I skipped that one.
It doesn't matter. I can scroll down easy enough. That's the game you introduced. That's the game they flashed the graphic for. That's the game that we'll talk about first. Titans and the Bucks. Right now, look at the my powering number, Tampa Bay -1. Look ahead line, Tampa Bay -1 and 38. The market's open, Tampa Bay -1 and 39. And so far this morning, they're sitting at -1. There are 38s and 39s out there, as well as 38.5s. So basically, the markets haven't done squadoosh with this ball game just yet. And I mean, there's some issues now with Tennessee. They moved the ball against Pittsburgh. They had a little bit of extra time off the Thursday night loss. Only went 1 for 4 in the red zone. That's 8 consecutive losses away from home. Another big game for DeAndre Hopkins, who's caught 3 touchdowns in the 2 games that Will Levis has been at QB. But they couldn't stop the run. And they have significant offensive line injuries. Center Aaron Brewer, the only offensive lineman to play all 68 snaps for them the other night. They were shuffled. They have Nicholas Petit-Frere hurt. Daniel Brunskill's hurt. Andre Dillard's hurt. Peter Skoronski's hurt. Chris Hubbard was out this week with a concussion. They had a rookie tackle getting his first NFL snaps, and their center had to play left guard. There are offensive line issues for Tennessee moving forward that might not be a great thing against Tampa's run defense. That said, the Bucks are finding ways to lose close games, and they're doing it week after week. And, Todd Bowles isn't inspiring much confidence. Quote, "It's a devastating loss, no doubt about it. We've got to eat it. All of us feel the same way, especially me. And I've been coaching a long time. I haven't been involved in too many where it's been back and forth like that and came down on the other end with a few things happening." They, too, have injuries on the defense side of the football. Jamal Dean left in the first quarter yesterday with a concussion. Josh Hayes, both defensive backs, also has concussion issues. And they gave up 8 yards per play and 470 passing yards in there. So this is a defense that has had a lot of issues against the pass this season, and it got worse in yesterday's game. Also worth noting, Tampa's red zone defense, they've been phenomenal all year, number 1 in the NFL, got absolutely gashed yesterday, perhaps. That red zone defense, not quite as good as we might have thought.
We'll do a quick U-turn here, guys. Can't skip one of these games. Green Bay Packers, Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll hit it quickly. -3 in the hook. That is the Steelers at home. Teddy, we're seeing 37 to 38, depending where we're shopping, as the total. Packers at Steelers from the Steel City.
Yeah, don't you worry, Drew. I'm not going to let you skip a game. And I've got them all in order every Sunday night. I make my notes, and then I put them all in game order, so I just have to scroll down. It makes it much easier for me to do my job on the show. So if you miss something, don't worry. We'll get to it. So Green Bay and Pittsburgh, powering number, Steelers -4. Look at number -3 and 37.5. Opened last night 3 and 37. And we've seen Steelers money a clear wise guy move towards Pittsburgh this morning. The 3's all been taken out, 3.5 and 38 at most locations, 37.5 at others. So we've seen a little bit of, I'm not going to say a lot of over money. We've seen a little bit of over money at some books and some significant Steelers money. And of course, Green Bay got the win yesterday against a Rams team that was kind of going through the motions. Then Norris Douglas at cornerback, who I thought might be a big loss for them, no problem. They only give up 3.4 yards per play. LA didn't reach the red zone yesterday. But, it's a secondary that started 2 rookie 7th-round picks in cornerback Carrington Valentine and safety Anthony Johnson Jr. So That's certainly a concern. And Jordan Love was okay yesterday. Quote, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But I think the position we were put ourselves in and come out with a win is definitely going to help us. We've just got to keep stacking going forward. And I look for those quotes where at the end of what they're saying, they're like, yeah, we're looking at next week's game already. Something like Joe Burrow was saying earlier. And in my mind, that's a mature quote from Jordan Love. They also had additional injuries. Defensive tackle Kenny Clark got hurt. Left tackle Josh Nijman got hurt. Christian Watson went into the locker room and had a chest injury and a back injury. So might be a pretty banged up Green Bay team this week. And of course, they are the youngest offense in the NFL. For Pittsburgh, now we're talking about laying a price with Pittsburgh. And we got to talk about the Steelers. They're a fascinating story. Pittsburgh is the 34th team in NFL history. This year's Steelers. The history of the NFL, there are 34 teams that have been outgained in each of their first 8 ball games. Out of those 34 teams, or the 33 previous teams, 0 of them had a winning record during that stretch until Pittsburgh did it right here. So they've done something that literally had never been done in NFL history. A winning record through 8 games after being outgained in every one of those contests. Now, of the 33 teams that have been outgained in their first 8 games, only one ended the season with a winning record. That was the 2022 Pittsburgh Steelers, who did it last year. So yeah, the offense got outgained 340 to 326 on Thursday night. But they've got an NFL leading 4 wins when trailing after 3 quarters. They're finding ways consistently to win when they lose the yardage battle. They ran the football this past week, which is something they haven't done. So we all know about Pickens unfollowing the Steelers on social media after the game, and Pickett's dealing with sprained ribs. That may be an ongoing issue. So if your quarterback has something to pay attention to this week, but can understand why Pittsburgh has taken the money right now. Injury report for Green Bay, not very good. And I think the wise guys might be sick of losing betting against the Steelers because their statistical profile is an outlier and was last year as well, and they still found ways to win ball games.
Yeah, interesting. Love the stat. 34th time in NFL history and back-to-back seasons. Wild there with the Steelers. Guys, we got 4 o'clock kicks up next. There are 4 of them. We'll start off here with the Falcons at the Cardinals. 4:05 Eastern, 1:05 Pacific kick here. -2 in the hook. That is the Atlanta Falcons as the road favorite. 41.5 being the total. We get the Dirty Birds at the Cardinals in the desert here, Teddy.
Yeah, look, excuse me. My powering number for Atlanta was 4 for this ball game. Although we'll have to see what Arizona's quarterback situation looks like this week. That powering number may be off. That was a Clayton Tune number for me. And there's a chance it could be Deshaun Watson this week. But I don't know that we're going to see Watson. Why would they put Watson in right now? It would baffle me. Certainly not. I mean, maybe. But anyhow, that's a Clayton 2 number. Is Atlanta -4. Look ahead line 2.5 and 40.5 opened last night. 2.5 and 41.5. Sitting this morning 2.5 with even some 2s out there and 41.5. This line's not going to 3. The Falcons back-to-back games, their defenses collapsed when it mattered most. That was a defense that carried the team earlier in the season. Yesterday, obviously, couldn't get a stop. At the end of the multiple times in the fourth quarter, couldn't get a stop, and that ended up costing them. They played maybe their best offensive game of the season. Heineke was 268 yards and a touchdown. He got comfortable as the game progressed. They took shots downfield. The offense worked. It was the defense that failed them now, and this is the team that's now lost a couple of these in a row. Games where there's can we pull it out? Can we find a way to win? And they're finding ways to lose. Now you have a head coach in the hot seat. You have quarterback questions. You have a defense that carried the team earlier that is struggling right now. And that's why I don't know if this line's going to 3. I mean, Arizona's pretty bad. All right. Let's say whether any time when I'm adjusting my powerings and I'm taking notes on Sundays, I'm like, is this team the worst team in the NFL? I'm like, no, Arizona's the worst team. Is this the 31st worst team in the NFL? Arizona's the worst team in the league. What happened yesterday offensively, again, we'll give credit to Cleveland's defense, but you don't see that a lot in the NFL. Clayton Tune had 27 dropbacks. He had 17 net yards. They had 0 points, 2 interceptions. He was their leading rusher, too. The running backs had 16 carries for 13 yards. Defense actually played well. Of course, the opposing offense wasn't trying to do a whole lot. 4.6 yards per play, 2.6 Yards per rush, Jonathan Gannon, quote, "We couldn't run it, we couldn't protect it, we couldn't throw it." And of course, this team has now lost 6 straight since upsetting the Dallas Cowboys. And they lost a pair of offensive linemen. Will Hernandez's knee, DJ Humphrey's ankle, both went out in the second half of that ballgame. We'll have to check their status. Again, there's a possibility that Kyler Murray could be activated to the 15-man roster. There's a possibility he could score, he could start here. But we don't know yet. This is early in the week. And the markets are sitting at 2.5 right now, as opposed to 3. Because it's hard to trust the Atlanta Falcons, even if they're going against Clayton Tune.
Shout out to the chat box, everybody watching live. Feel free to chime in. Let us know where you're watching from, what you're looking to bet, where you agree, where you disagree. All is welcome. We got the VIPs in here. Abby Jackson. She's saying a couple things. San Francisco money line. Rob saying, here's where we find out if the Jags are for real. We also got Paul Blakeney over in Essex, England, watching in. So shout out to you, Paul, on the other side of the pond. As we move down the list here, guys, in rotation order, 257, 258, Detroit Lions, LA Chargers, Teddy. We are seeing the Lions minus 1.5 point road favorites, 48.5 being the total. Do note the Chargers do play Monday Night Football tonight as we are talking Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. But, Teddy, I'll throw it over to you. Lions at Chargers. Lions laying a short number on the road.
Yeah, I got a promo I want to give out real quick. You can take $50 off any 30-day pass. All access or sports specific if you want to get college football, NFL, NBA. I don't start college hoops until after Thanksgiving, so I wouldn't get a 30-day all access college hoops pass right now. But you can take $50 off any of them, all sports or any specific sport. Just use coupon code ALL30, ALL, and then 30 at checkout. Coupon code ALL30, and you get $50 off any 30-day all access pass. And I'll tell you what. I wasn't happy with my performance in October. I'm not anticipating more of the same moving forward. Let's talk about the Lions and the Chargers. You talked about the fact that LA plays on Monday Night Football tonight, and their performance likely to affect this number. Look ahead line here. My power number is Pick'em. Look ahead line minus 148.5. Detroit has taken the early money in a lot of places. I'm seeing 1.5s for the Lions now, whereas the Chargers were the favorite on the look ahead. And again, Chargers haven't played, Lions haven't played. So it's one of those scenarios there. Okay. And of course, LA, the Lions had that Monday Night Football game where they looked good against the Raiders, got the Raiders coach fired, and their bye week. The Chargers are on Monday Night Football against the Jets tonight. If you like the Chargers tonight, you may want to look at a little parlay this week's game with next week's game for LA, and you'll likely get the best of the number.
Teddy, we got the New York Football Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific kick here. 39.5, and the largest favorite here we're seeing on the card, that is the Cowboys, minus 16, even 16 in the hook out there. So, we are seeing Cowboys heavy favorites at home, minus 16.5, we'll call it, 39.5 being the total. Giants at Cowboys here, Teddy.
Yeah, look ahead line here was only minus 10 for the Cowboys, but that was when Danny Dimes had been upgraded to probable and was expected to play moving forward. Instead, Danny Dimes is now hurt, and Tyrod Taylor is now hurt, and that leaves Tommy DeVito as the Giants QB. I forget if DeVito was drafted or not. He certainly wasn't a high draft pick, but the kid out of Syracuse that at no point in his college career made me think he would be a capable NFL quarterback, and at no point so far in his NFL career has Tommy DeVito looked like an NFL quarterback. So look at line was only 10 and 42. My powering number, and I've got the Giants power rated the second worst team in the NFL right now, or I think a half point better than Arizona. My powering number is only 14 on the game. The markets are at 16. Opened, again, look at total was 42. Last night we're looking at 39.5. This time, this morning we're looking at 38, 39.5, 39s. Under money, and obviously heavy Cowboys money with Dallas up to 16. A 6-point move from the Danny Dimes line to the Tommy DeVito line. And look, I mean, the Giants entered yesterday's game last in the league in total offense, in scoring offense, and in passing offense. They haven't scored a touchdown in the first quarter all year. They're always playing from behind. They already have as many losses now at the midway point of this season as they had for the entirety of last year when they were a playoff team. Positive signs? Well, I guess they ran the football okay. And they did get Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal back on the offensive line. And that's a good thing moving forward because Saquon Barkley, again, 90 yards on 16 carries, actually had some push from the offensive line yesterday. But it's one of those games where the box score is going to lie to you. They were down, Giants were down 24-0 at halftime, and the box score says the game was even. It wasn't. Barkley, interesting quote after the game. Definitely sucks, but got to be a pro about it. Can't make no excuses. Still got a long season ahead of us, obviously. I'm not happy we're 2-7 with everything that's going on right now. Get on a flight, rest up, get ready for next week. That's a quote you want from the G-men here. It really is against a divisional opponent. Dallas is now 2.5 games back in division. They do play 4 of the next 5 right here at home. They won 11 straight on this field. They won the yardage battle by more than 100 against Philly last night. Nearly 1 yard better yard per play against Philly, 5.8 to 4.9, with 10 penalties for Dallas. They allowed 3 for 3 in the red zone. Mike McCarthy after the game, quote, "We feel great about our team. We need to learn from these mistakes. That's what these games come down to. You get into these types of games, even more so if you get into playoff football." They got down to the 6-yard line at the end and weren't able to cash in, although a lot of that was Philadelphia penalties towards the end of that game. McCarthy off a loss, Dallas off a loss, certainly a positive thing. Dallas's defense off a game in which Philly moved the ball against them. If the Cowboys bring their A game, Giants could get shut out. If Dallas looks past them, Giants could hang. This is a game we're going to be looking very closely at the quotes throughout the week. See how much attention Dallas is playing. In general, you think, at home where they've been so dominant and off a loss, you think it's a step up spot, but it doesn't always pan out that way, especially when you're playing against a team that's pretty well a bottom feeder, and you may not be all that interested.
Teddy, we get the last afternoon kick here, 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific kick. An interesting handicap with the Washington Commanders going out west, cross country here to the Pacific Northwest and taking on the Seattle Seahawks after the Seahawks just got blown out by the Ravens. -6. There is a -6 in the hook out there at a couple shops. That is the Seahawks as the home favorite. 45 or 45 in the hook as the total. Commanders at Seahawks. Last afternoon kick, Teddy.
Yeah, my powering number, Seattle -6.5. The look headline was 5.5, 44.5. The markets opened yesterday 6 and 44.5. Today we're seeing 6s/6.5s and 45.5. So we have seen some over money for this ball game. Side money a little bit, but not really a whole lot for Seattle. And Seattle was pretty awful. Well, they weren't pretty awful. They were absolutely awful yesterday. I think it was Geno's worst game since he's been the Seahawks starters. He completed less than half his passes. He threw a pick, 6 picks in the last 4 games, only 4 touchdowns during that span. He lost a fumble. He had a bunch of passes that were almost picked. They had 157 passing yards in the game, but they scored 3 points. And that was the offense. Again, first downs 29-6. They were outgained 6.9 to 3.2 yards per play. They allowed 298 rushing yards at 7.3 yards per carry. Pete Carroll. We couldn't tackle in the second half. We just didn't tackle. It's just the most basic plays, and we didn't get them on the ground. That's the part I need to look at the most. That's what I'm most concerned about. So Seattle, awful. Both sides of the ball, completely blown out. In theory, step down in class, returning home. They're supposed to be there and play better. The Commanders' defense wasn't good, and it didn't get better after trading their 2 defensive ends. But the offense, I'll give Sam Howell credit. He was in a lot of tough situations yesterday, and he made plays. He kept converting. When you lose a turnover battle and win straight up as an underdog, that tends to be a positive sign. But Washington, in terms of stringing good performances together, haven't seen a whole lot of that this season. They get a win, and then, we got to win. So in theory, it's supposed to be a bounce back spot for Seattle. In theory, Seattle's supposed to take this game very seriously.
We got the Sunday night game up next here, guys. It is the New York Jets and the Las Vegas Raiders coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada. We are seeing Jets -2.5, -2 at a key global shop here. 36.5 being the total, Teddy. Jets, back-to-back primetime games. They are playing, do note, guys, here in the Monday night game. But Jets at Raiders here, Teddy. Not far from where you're talking right now.
No. I mean, Allegiant Stadium's what, 5 or 6? I don't even know how far it is. 5 miles off the road, whatever it is. Not far. A stone's throw. It's that way. No, actually, it's that way. It's right behind me. This is facing north. I live in the south part of town. So that's where it is. Anyhow, short story long. My powering number, Jets -1. Look ahead number, Jets -2.5, 37. The markets opened last night, -1.5 / -2, 36.5. And we have seen Jets money this morning. The 1.5s and 2s, they're gone. Mostly 2.5s right here for New York. So we're seeing Jets money. And the Raiders box score wasn't as impressive as their performance yesterday. The box score is lying. And of course, it was their first game since Josh McDaniels was fired and offensive coordinator Mick Lombardi was fired, and general manager Dave Ziegler was fired, and Jimmy G got benched. And of course, they had their biggest win since 2020 as a result. They scored as many points in one day against the Giants as the Giants had allowed their 3 previous games. Antonio Pierce, after the game, new head coach. We talked about, we talked about pride and poise and getting back to being ourselves. Everything that's going on there in front of us, everything that's going on is in front of us, not behind us. The team effort you saw today, what we displayed in practice on Thursday and Friday. Some of these other quotes are worth noting for the Raiders. So Aiden O'Connell, the rookie QB, quote, "It's a hard situation, what happened this week, but I think the guys felt relieved and happy and super joyful that we could perform like this. So it was definitely rocking in the locker room." Josh Jacobs, who actually was at 101 yards after not getting 100 yards in 13 straight games, the leading rusher in the NFL last season. And then he lost 3 yards in his last carry, so only finished with 98. Quote, "The vibe and the energy is just electric right now. It's the most connected I feel we've been as a unit." Nate Hobbs, the cornerback. "I see what we do when we play cohesive defense on the line in the back seven and everybody don't quit. If we communicate, we'll be a force to be reckoned with. I feel like top 10 in the league for sure." That's a team that's really, really, really happy about beating the Giants. The locker room, there were cigars. People are going crazy. Raiders have not been good off a win in recent seasons. And if the Jets look good tonight, they'll be 3-point favorites in Las Vegas next Sunday.
Guys, we got the Monday Nighter to end it here. Feel free to fire out any questions in the live chat. We do have a couple from last week's show, Teddy, in the comments below, which we'll hit as well. And feel free, if you're watching on replay, fire away any questions. Where you're watching from, all is welcome in the comments on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Pacific time, each and every Monday. Teddy covers Drew Martin NFL opening line report. Monday, November 13th here, Teddy. Denver Broncos off of a bye, 2 straight wins and covers against the spread. They're catching 7.5 in Buffalo, 46.5 being the total. So Monday Night Football here, Broncos at Bills. Bills minus 7.5-point home favorites, 46.5 being the total, Teddy.
Yeah, and just before we talk Monday Night Football, I want to say thank you to everyone who comments. Week after week, we get hundreds of comments on YouTube. That's awesome. I do my best to get in there several times. The last week, I think I only got in there once, but I answered. Felt like I spent like 2 hours in there answering comments. We appreciate them all. I'll do it again this week. Anything you guys write, we'll talk about it. Drew and I will both take a look, and we'll respond as best we can in the comments throughout the course of the week. So all the likes we appreciate, all the comments we appreciate. And if you like this type of analysis, please ding that bell. More than 130,000 subscribers on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. If you're not one, you should be today. Let's talk about the Bills and the Broncos. My powering number, Buffalo, 7.5. The market's open 7.5, 45.5. Sorry, that was a look-ahead line. My powering number, 7.5 for the Bills. The look-ahead line, 9.5, 45.5 for the Bills. After last night's showing, we saw 7.5s get posted, 46, and that's what we're seeing today, 7.5, 46.5 this morning. So the markets, I'm not saying they're crashing on the Bills, but Again, 9.5 down to 7.5. It's not key numbers per se, but that's an adjustment. And Buffalo, it's been a while since they played a good game. What's it, 5 straight non-coverage, I think, for the Bills right now. Their running backs against Cincinnati yesterday, 8 carries for 24 yards. That's something they spent all offseason saying, we're going to fix this. We're working on this. And 8 carries for 24 yards from the backs yesterday, which says they didn't fix it. Sean McDermott, quote, too inconsistent overall. I thought we got off to a really good start in our rhythm. After that, it was tough sledding. Josh Allen, injured right shoulder. After leading the league in takeaways the first 4 weeks, remember the Bills had all those blowout wins. They had 11 the first 4 weeks of the season. They had the loss to the Jets on Monday Night Football and 3 straight blowouts. Well, since week 4, or since the end of week 4, the beginning of week 5, Bills have a grand total of 3 takeaways, 0 the last 2 games. And they got injuries all over in the secondary right now. So Buffalo has some concerns. Now, look, Denver had such awful defensive numbers the first month, the first 6 weeks of the campaign. That came at Miami, just one of a number of awful performances. The game in Chicago. I mean, this is a defense still ranked number 32 in a bunch of categories, even coming out of the bye week. This is not one of the league's worst defenses. Not close. They've been getting red zone stops last 3 weeks. Again and again, they're forcing turnovers. The pass rush is there. The run defense has been there. The coverage downfield has been there. I think this is defense in much more middle of the pack than the stats might show. The offense still sucks. Russell Wilson's just holding the ball. The offensive line not holding up anything for the backs. That said, they're coming off a bye. They're hungry and they're feeling pretty good. Russell Wilson, we believe in who we are. They've been able to control the clock. They've been able to control the tempo. If they could run the football here against Buffalo, like they were able to do in their last couple games. This is a team that was averaging just 22 carries a game. They ran the ball 40 times last time out. If they do that here, if they have any success on the ground, they're live dogs against the Bills. And we are seeing at some shops, at one shop, I just saw 7 pop up. So there is a little bit of Denver money that continues to trickle in.
Love it, Teddy. Hitting some of the comments here quickly. We got Ernie from Hawaii watching from the island. Shout out to Ernie in the comments. We also got Joe saying, last week, Teddy, I brought up a point in terms of playing on the turf, and I've heard multiple players talk about how the NFL should put money into having all NFL games on grass. But we have Joe saying his understanding is that there's actually more injuries on grass than turf. You did comment in here about MetLife. Do you have any thoughts on that? Does it change your handicapping on turf and on grass in the NFL?
Not really. I mean, MetLife is kind of unique. Everyone, because you hear so many quotes. Again, what do I do? Where do I get my info? I watch a lot of games and I read a lot of articles. Mm-hmm. And MetLife, over and over and over again, you hear the same quotes. It feels like you're playing on concrete. We're playing on cement. And you see the injury reports. And it shows that MetLife is a particularly difficult stadium on the players' bodies when it comes to the various turf. And again, there's different kinds of turfs and different kinds of grasses and all that. If you spend a lot of time with that minutia, you may find something. In my mind, there are better ways to spend your time trying to handicap the NFL than trying to find the minutia of whether a team plays a little bit better on grass.
Makes sense, Teddy. We also had Brent. Sure. We had Brent asking, when the Chiefs and the Dolphins are arriving in Germany, because he believes the last 3 international games, the team that traveled there first won the game. We got another one here with the Colts and the Pats. Is that something you bring into the 9:30 a.m., 6:30 a.m. Pacific game, Colts and Pats, when they travel over to Germany?
So I won my bet with KC yesterday. KC traveled on Thursday. Miami traveled on Monday. So that 3-0 is now 3-1. And it's not something, again, it's, if you're making a case for a team, it's something you can add to that case, but it's not anything I would be afraid to bet against. And it's not anything that I would say it's a must pay attention to scenario. I thought KC was better. I thought KC's defense is still the undervalued commodity. And the Chiefs played a pretty awful offensive second half and still found a way to win the game. Now, Miami was a better team in the second half, so maybe there's something to be said for that. But I mean, when Jacksonville was there early, for those 2 weeks, and the 1 week they were already there. So it's something to pay attention to. It's not anything that's going to get me on or off, specifically a wager.
Fair enough, Teddy. And guys, we do have the promo code OLR. It's take $50 off any 30-day pass, all access or sports specific pass. Coupon code all30. Teddy talked about it. Coupon code all30. Take $50 off any 30-day pass. WagerTalk.com. Teddy, any final thoughts? Great breakdown as always here, man, on Opening Line Report. But anything you want to throw out there before we shut this down?
Yeah, I'm pretty pissed off today. I'm more pissed off than I usually am. I'm hungry. I'll just leave it at that. Take that all sports package. Take $50 off. This is a time to get on board.
Teddy's hungry. Teddy_covers on Twitter, WagerTalk.com. Guys, I am Drew Martin. Huge shout out to the over 10,000 people that watched last week's show. Hopefully we get up and over that this week. Please like the video, guys, if you're liking the comment. And please comment below. Let us know where you're listening from. Anything else you want to throw out there, any questions, we'll answer them on next week's show. For Teddy Covers, I'm Drew Martin. That does it for Opening Line Report here. Week 10. We'll be back next week, Week 11. Thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets.